what is happening really on the lease end behind the scenes? Let's take a look at that, because it's exactly the same thing that we saw in the demonstrations given by Catalina last month and this month to get lease end and close of a lease contract or activation group. In the case of casualties, it's exactly the same procedure. Doesn't being integrated or non-integrated, it doesn't really matter. And let me show you here what happens when it comes to close a contract. In this case, or an activation group. Okay, the end result is to retire an asset. So what happens when I'm integrated with SAP? So I follow the procedure that we have learned in the previous session and this session. And once the lease end is done and the contract is closed, the status is going to be closed. Okay. So I will show you here that the transactions that we have for the lease end and closing process, we had, in this case, a capitalization at inception, liability recognition, and then I do a retirement because, of the lease end. In SAP, what happens is that when I post this document in SAP, I will, let me get into my SAP system here, and I will get to see that document or that journal in SAP, and it was done online real time because of this integration that we have. So in Nakisa Lease Administration, again, and I can see that document not just for IFRS, but also maybe for ASC 842. Again, I will get into that. And because I'm using different ledgers to be posted, Nakisa knows what to do with that. Now, what happens to the asset? So I will click in this icon to get to the asset record in SAP, and I will take a look at the values here. So when I get to see the values, I see that I have generated my asset in different
Mario,
depreciation areas.
I'm interrupting you a bit because we have a question here.
Yes, go ahead.
We have a question from Daniel Matthews. Daniel, would you like to tell us from which company are you? I don't see it very well.
Hi, yeah, Apache.
Okay, Apache.
From Apache. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
What is the question?
So Daniel is asking on the asset retirement entry for an integrated model, just to be sure, integrated with fixed asset module, Daniel?
Correct.
We are not utilizing the asset module in SAP.
Okay. Then
so it's a GL.
It's a GL only integration.
Just GL only integration. So his question is like on an asset retirement, what could cause different Forex rates to be pulled for each line of the item posting? This causing an error when posting externally to SAP via standard BAPI. So you mean for each line of posting debit credit or something else?
Correct, debit credit. There's two debit lines and one credit line, and each have a different rate that is getting pulled.
Oh.
And I wasn't sure if that was like a master data setting.
Could be. It could be. What I recommend in this case, that seems to be like something that it's not logic. It's wrong. Okay, and I would really recommend to open a ticket if you have not opened it. Okay. And we can take a look at we will for sure take a look at that, because that doesn't sound okay. What do you think, Kata?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm trying to think about how it can look like. So Daniel, would you please open a ticket and you can forward me then the number, and we'll get in touch with our support team. We'll probably need access to your environment to see that specific entry.
Okay. Correct.
Mario and
Yes.
Daniel.
Hi,
This is Richard Bujing from KLM. I noticed this kind of differences with the FX rates as well, and I contacted our audit department in KLM, and they agreed and confirmed that it is calculated uh, when the casualty is booked in retirement, that with the retirement the casualty is booked against the FX rate of the inception. And that was correct for looking to the bookkeeping rules. But maybe when Daniel is putting in a ticket, we can have the issue discussed under this Nakisa office hours.
Perfect, for sure.
Okay.
And just to, I'm sorry, Mario, to just give a note, like Richard is from KLM, and KLM is in fixed asset mode integration, and he's correct. And for the asset retirement, depending on the type of events, and if there are no events, the inception rate is going to be used. Or depending if there are events, it will be the blended rate. But having different rates from each item of the entry, as Mario was mentioning, doesn't seem right. We need to see what it is, but for sure we can cover the example in a later session as we have more details.
Yeah, for the asset, we use always the spot rate to get the depreciation going all throughout the life of the asset. And if that somehow changed, with no reassessment or changing it specifically the the rate or something, that should not change at all. Okay.
Okay, thanks for the feedback.
Okay, so let's get to see here. I get to see the asset that has been retired here. But what happened behind the scenes? So when I trigger the lease end and the closing transaction, what the system is doing really is, triggering a BAPI here. And that BAPI happens to be the asset retirement post that takes the termination, the lease end and the closing transaction to post everything I need to post in SAP. By the way, as the data input for this code that you get to see here, it's coming from SAP. It's telling what is the asset number, what is the asset transaction type defined for the retirement in the asset system, and the output that it's coming from SAP, it's telling me that it was just successful. The retirement was successful. No errors. I don't get to see any errors below the error line. So, and when I explore the asset, I see that asset, it's completely retired in SAP. So from Nakisa perspective, the asset, it's been closed, lease end. It's the right of use asset is completely, it came to an end, and in SAP through the integration that we have, it's retired as well, and from accounting perspective, is retired as well. So this is how we link or make the integration going to have in both systems